The brief revival in Theresa May's fortunes came to a crashing halt last night with the departure of Damian Green. Downing Street had been trying to paint a narrative of a resilient Prime Minister who was entering the new year from a position of strength after a difficult few months. This is hard to reconcile with losing one of your closest allies and your third cabinet minister in less than 2 months. Some have tried to argue that it is a sign of Mrs. May's renewed authority that she was willing to sack her deputy. Though it is hardly the act of a confident leader who, when presented with evidence her house is on fire, takes 6 weeks to dismiss the arsonist. Nor does the orchestration of Mr. Green's ousting point to a government which exudes confidence. The timing was designed precisely to minimize the damage to an already rickety administration. Green's parting leaves Mrs. May further isolated and unsettles the delicate balance in cabinet between the Brexiteers and Remainers. We are being told the reshuffle is being postponed until the beginning of January. How it is executed will offer a better guide to Mrs. May's standing. Will she appoint whom she wants or the person least likely to upset the Brexit equilibrium? Jeremy Hunt, one of those touted as a replacement for Mr. Green, this morning described his resignation as a sad moment. Hunt then went on to admit the first Secretary of State had been forced to quit because he had lied. We should not lose sight amid the rushed political obituaries for a fallen colleague that it took considerable bravery for Kate Mouthby to go public with her allegations for which she was subsequently vilified by the Tories' friends in the media. Her treatment was a sad moment. If the Prime Minister wanted further proof the gods are against her, she heads to Poland today. This was meant to be an uncontroversial visit, but Mrs. May is flying into a diplomatic storm between Warsaw and the European Union. Brussels yesterday triggered Article 7, which could deny Poland EU voting rights for its undermining of judicial impartiality. In the last 2 years, Poland has enacted 13 laws that would allow ministers to make political appointees to the entire justice system. Mrs. May could, of course, use this to highlight the overbearing attitude of Brussels, but it is a diplomatically tricky situation. The PM will not want to offend her hosts, but neither will she wish to be seen endorsing its authoritarian and anti-democratic attitude. The last Commons sitting day before MPs enjoy their Christmas break begins with culture, media and sport questions. There is then the weekly business statement from Andrea Leadsom before a backbench debate led by Lib Dem MP Tom Brake on alleged Russian interference in UK politics and society. There is some debate about the extent of Russian involvement in the EU referendum. So far, the major social media firms have sought to play down Kremlin interference and suggested that the amount of paid-for advertising was insignificant. This response has not satisfied Damian Collins, the Tory chair of the Couleur, Media and Sport Committee, who has written to Facebook and Twitter demanding a more comprehensive answer which looks at the use of Russian bots. We also have the annual tradition of Clear Out the Trash Day, when the government makes a string of announcements and decisions which individually would be a cause of scandal but when released in a bundle are difficult to monitor and make it harder to hold the ministers responsible to account. All oppositions complain of this practice and all governments persist with it. There are also elections in Catalonia today. These were ordered by the Spanish PM Mariano Rajoy in an attempt to bring some order after the illegal referendum. The polls suggest the result is on a knife edge, with the vote evenly split between the alliance of pro-unionist parties and the 3 pro-independence parties. Mr. Rajoy may find he has delayed rather than resolved the Catalan problem. Look out later this afternoon for a special Eyes to the Left podcast featuring Jeremy Corbyn. The Labour leader reflects on 2017 and Labour's challenges for next year. He also talks about Donald Trump, Brexit, Arsenal and tells a truly terrible joke.